The three-day ASEAN summit is presently underway in Cambodia, and this is in fact the first in-person meeting of the grouping since the COVID-19 pandemic. And this is day 2 of the summit that began on Friday. Now, today, the ASEAN leaders will be holding separate meetings with their counterparts from India, the United States and Japan after the bloc earlier held talks with the Chinese premier.
我们正在磋商 COC， 在磋商过程当中，我们照顾各方的关切，但是也坚决地维护和促进国际法，尊重包括联合国海洋法公约在内的国际法，支持依据包括公约和南海各方行为宣言在内的国际法原则，来妥善处理南海出现的一些问题。
Meanwhile, South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol has said that unilateral attempts to change the status quo in the Asian region can, of course, never be done by force and will never be accepted. Now, Yoon further said that he will strengthen the shared economic prosperity based on an open and fair order.
인도 태평양 지역의 평화와 안정은 우리의 생존과 번영에 직결됩니다.
Now, the 10-nation bloc faces a multitude of issues, including the escalating crisis in Myanmar. During day 1 of the summit, the Southeast Asian heads of government issued a warning to Myanmar to make measurable progress on a peace plan or risk being barred from the bloc's meetings. Now, the Southeast Asian leaders have also agreed to engage Myanmar's opposition groups. The bloc leaders are now seeking ways to quell the country's escalating bloodshed, which has seen thousands get killed in clashes since last year's coup. Now, the political, social and economic chaos has gripped Myanmar since the military overthrew the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi in February last year.
As the incoming chair of ASEAN, and look forward to working with them along with our country coordinator, Singapore, to further enhance ASEAN-India cooperation as we embark on our comprehensive strategic partnership. Excellencies, ASEAN-India relations form the central pillar of India's Act East policy, which is anchored in the era of reforms in India in 1990s. The cultural, economic, and civilizational ties that have existed between India and Southeast Asia since time immemorial provided the strong foundation to build our partnership in modern times, from a sectoral partnership in 1992 to a comprehensive strategic partnership in 2022. These 3 decades have been multifaceted and multidimensional growth in ASEAN-India engagements encompassing connectivity to climate change, security to space, education to ecology, and technology to trade, showcasing our desire to deepen our cooperation for a better and brighter future.
And also, WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibil is tracking the developments at the ASEAN very closely for us and has sent us this report from Bali. Listen in.
Well, it's clearly the summit season in Asia, and the key focus in Cambodia is regarding the ASEAN meetings. We saw on Friday the ASEAN meetings coming up with the outcome documents, especially raising their concerns over Myanmar not implementing the 5-point agenda of the ASEAN grouping. But today is an important day in terms of the various summits between ASEAN and India, ASEAN and the United States. The Indian Vice President is already there in the country. The US President Joe Biden will be there for the meeting very soon. So largely there are pressing issues, whether it's a very aggressive China, the worries emanating from North Korea, concerns that countries in the region share, and how there can be essentially a certain kind of bringing the tensions down in the region, if not a major breakthrough, is something that everyone is looking forward to. There is of course the East Asia Summit that is going to take place on Sunday, that brings curtains down to the ASEAN meetings, and then of course there will be focus in Bali. But largely ASEAN centrality is something that all countries in the region, whether it's New Delhi, whether it's Australia, or of course beyond as well in Washington, have reaffirmed. But at a time when there are frictions emerging and geopolitical tensions at all-time high, there is of course worry over the role ASEAN can play, and of course ASEAN internally also facing concerns over of course situation in Myanmar, where the military junta is not essentially bothered to implement the 5-point agenda. The situation remains precarious and of course dangerous as seen by many ASEAN capitals, and that is why any kind of outcomes or messaging from Cambodia is something that everyone will be keenly awaiting for. With video journalist Ajit Dhankar for WION in Bali, Indonesia.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.